Hi there, my name might be Caleb Reese, and I'm on a bike. Summer's right around the corner, and that means one of my favorite routines in the world, which is biking around to and from my morning yoga class, which I actually mentioned way back in.
Now, if it were spring and summertime, I would absolutely be biking, and there is no way in hell I am biking in 10-degree winter.
And the more I thought about it, the more I realized how important routines have been for me. At the same time, I realized how much this year has sort of been devoid of any kind of routine. Stress levels have been extremely high, but when you think about it, every single week has been a completely different experience. Take this January, for example. January, ice took over the city and made everyone's life a miserable hell. That lasted until mostly March, although it was still somewhat going on, except not in quite as severe of a direction. And then look out, what happened? Well, the stock market completely pummeled with all this AI tech stuff and kept going up and down and up and down. Every single week, we're in a recession, we're not in a recession, we're in a recession, we're not in a recession. Are things going bad? Things may not be going bad. The interest rates are going way too high, the interest rates are going too low. There has been very little consistency, except of course this view. Now take the last couple months, for example. Are we in a war with Iran? Are we not in a war with Iran? How much is gas prices? Oh, today they're $2.60, tomorrow they're $3. The next day they're $3.24. Oh, wait a minute, they're actually $3.10. Actually, they're $4. Actually, they're gonna be $4.80. Maybe they're $4.15. There has been zero consistency this year. Stocks are everywhere, money is everywhere, jobs are everywhere. Most recently in my line of work, which is video production, I have seen companies say, well, things are way too volatile right now, so we don't know what we're doing. We're gonna hold off on any kind of productions because we're afraid and we wanna see where things go. But now on the other hand, everyone is saying, things are way too crazy and everything's up in the air. We're not really sure which direction it's gonna go. So at this point, we might as well funnel as much money into it as possible and try to get ahead of whatever we think is happening. This also means, even right now, while I am greatly enjoying this massive onslaught of work that I have had, and unfortunately I can't speak about because
NDAs, or non-disclosure agreements.
I can say it's somewhat comforting to know that I've been this busy and some semblance of a financial future in this year of our Lord 2026 will come to pass. But then again, therein lies the problem of 2026. There is no way of actually knowing what consistency is like. Anyways, a Minneapolis resident, this is what life's been going on for me right now. And while nostalgia's always been a very important aspect for me, thinking about the dangers of what's been happening on in the country and in regular life and in all sorts of everyone's professional life right now has taken a very huge toll. And I miss so terribly that consistency of routine that I used to define my life by. I know even people in the regular job cycle have experienced a lot of different layoffs and confusions and hiring sprees and firing sprees, and there's no real end in sight to what's going to be happening anytime soon in this year. So what do we have to look forward to that keeps us sane then? Well, other than that biker who just ran past me, I like to think a lot of things, sort of. On the upside, with summer right around the corner, that means picnics and joy and smiles, and if you don't do any of those things, probably more mental and emotional breakdowns, which, let's face it, in this year, we don't really have time to do that anymore. So we got to come up with some alternate solutions to enjoy ourselves. That's not to say things have been entirely bad, per se. So far in the last 2 months, I've had more work than I've had in the last year. I've entered into a new relationship that I am absolutely over the moon about. And my home life has never been more stable. My fulfillment has never been higher. Bank account has never been stronger. And I even won a pair of headphones in a survey contest the other day, which I was convinced was a scam, but gave them my address anyway. So, I guess good things are happening everywhere. But that led me to realize something about myself that I've never truly considered before. The dangerous thought that I might not actually know how to be happy when things are good. Because fun fact, what have I been doing this entire time that things have been good? Not necessarily celebrating them, but instead waiting for the other shoe to drop. Anticipating something bad is going to happen at any time and trying to mentally and physically prepare for it. Now that's just been my life. As a freelancer, that's especially just been my life. I've convinced myself that that's normal. But lately, the more I think about it, the more I've started to realize all throughout my life, I've only really been happy when things are bad, as an act of protest to trying to feel good and manifest my life in the best way possible. It's gonna get loud, so we're gonna leave. Not so bad after all, actually. Now, it's not like I'm gonna sit around and go, well, how did this happen? How did I decide that I was only going to be negative when things were good because I was too afraid things were gonna get bad again? That's a very obvious survival tactic. It's obvious to me, based on my entire lived experience, why I would think that way, why believing that preparation was thinking realistically about a situation, instead of just accepting that sometimes good things will just happen, even if the rest of the outside world is crumbling or exploding around you. There's always something you can look forward to celebrate. And while I've trained myself to mostly be distrusting of that feeling, we're taking a week or two and trying to force ourselves to learn what it's like to actually enjoy when the times are good. But I also think more than that, it should mean taking time to actually do the things that do spark joy in you. For example, going on bike rides, 6 a.m. yoga classes. This is the first week in a long time I've started working out consistently. And of course, I'm frustrated every time to remember that yes, working out does do wonders for the mental health and actually dares you to be a little more positive than you might otherwise be. But this should also mean taking time to do nourishing things like art projects or video projects, something that I know for the last few months I've been sorely neglecting. And the sad thing is, a video project, or art in that regard, doesn't need to follow a template, doesn't need to have any kind of familiar structure to it whatsoever. And I will admit, I occasionally get a little caught up in the nitty-gritty details of making a video project when I fall into a specific sort of routine. Which is funny, because I might hear you saying, well, you just said that routines are extremely valuable. Yes, but if you're just doing the exact same thing over and over again with art all the time, eventually you're probably gonna fall into a little bit of a rut. Art is supposed to be creativity, exploration, being, dare I say it, a little silly. Side note, look at this building. If you are not a Minneapolis resident, this is one of the most famous buildings in downtown, designed by the same architect who made the Twin Towers, and it is utterly fabulous. It's also sat vacant for several years, and it's finally being turned into a very large hotel with a rooftop bar, and I support this. Honestly, one of my favorite things about Minneapolis is just the architecture. We've got some very, very pretty buildings here. And yes, going back to my previous point, that also includes recording something sometimes and just hoping that the audio actually does turn out and it is usable. It's taking that risk. Right, me from the future?
Holy crap, it worked!
I mean, at least you can kind of hear what I'm saying.
Ha!
In closing, friends of YouTube and the world, while I enter myself back into my humble home, I ask of you, let's take some little time to reflect this beginning of June. 6th month of the year, already halfway in. What is some of your favorite experiences you've had so far? What are some challenges you've certainly faced? What have you done to break free of them? And what kind of ridiculous art are you going to make? What risks are you going to take? Let me know in the comments below. Till then, see you everybody. Happy trails.